Good evening. Welcome to our meeting. Would you join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have one speaker tonight, an open forum, Tiffany Johnson.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Johnson. I didn't read all, I thought I had more time, I didn't read all the guidelines. I have two kids, I think I was, am I supposed to give my address?
If you want.
Okay.
It's on the card.
It's on the card, okay, we'll skip that. I have two kids in the district, a sixth grader at Briarwood and a freshman at East. Excited to start tomorrow. I was just here from the parent perspective, advocating or expressing support for the teachers' negotiating position on the salary increases. I know I don't have any control over that, and I know there are constraints in the district, but I would just like the board, the administration, to do whatever they can do to support the teachers' request for a raise, and the package that they offered as their final position last night. I work at KU Medical Center as a professional, or as a professor. We haven't had raises in a decade, and I can attest to how demoralizing that is. I don't know how many of you work in positions where you haven't had a raise in a decade, but it's hard to stay pumped and willing to do your best. We do it because we care about our kids and what we do as professionals, but it's hard to stay the course. So I would just like to strongly encourage you to do whatever you can to support their position and show them that we have their backs. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, C1 is approval of minutes from our special meeting, July 24.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. And now to our organizational meeting of July 24.
So moved. Second. Oh, it was me.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Adopted. And now a regular meeting of July 24.
So moved. Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Adoption of our agenda, D1.
Move adoption. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. We have a really, really small consent agenda, so it would be, does anybody have anything they want to remove?
I move approval of the routine business by consent.
Okay,
Second.
all right. And just for the audience, it includes approval of claims and business equipment, small dishes and things like that for the bistro. Guess you don't get these off the paper plate. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Now we come to H1, which is the real reason we're meeting tonight, which is the authorization to publish the notice of hearing on our budget. Dr. Southwick.
Yes, we have both Dr. Atha and Russ Knapp here tonight. Our meeting tonight fulfills an obligation we have to present information to the board so that we can publish the budget over the next several days so that we can have our discussion at the 24th board meeting and be in compliance with state law to present the budget to the state on August 25th. So Russ is here. Go through that process. Russ, thank you. Allison, thank you. Work you've done to have us prepared with our budget, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Like Dr. Southwick said, we need to give lots of thanks to Allison Starosky. She crunched a lot of numbers in less than a week's time. I know it's just one page, but there was a lot of number crunching going into that. The KSDE, you remember we met in July 24th. We still hadn't had the documents released yet. So they released it Friday, July 28th, and this came on the board docs on Monday, July 7th. So she turned that around fairly quick. So we're still finalizing the remaining documents, like the budget at a glance, the budget profile, the state document, our own internal, what we call our August book. Those will all be available at the end of next week in time for board docs, and we'll put it out on our website for the public to view when we have our hearing on the 24th. Okay? So the timeline, we had to meet tonight, because we have guidelines we have to follow according to state statute. So tonight, hopefully, you'll approve the budget hearing, or the notice of hearing. Tomorrow, we'll send it to the Kansas City Star for publication, and most likely that will be Sunday. Then we have to wait 10 days from the following day of publication, 10 calendar days. So that'll roughly put us at August 23rd, and then on the 24th, we'll have our budget hearing, and then at your regular meeting, you'll have an agenda item to approve the budget, and then on the 25th, by state statute, it is due to Johnson County at that time. So what this does is it sets your limits for your expenditures and your levies. Now, the levies are still an estimate because they're not finalized until October. So Johnson County will finalize our assessed valuation and our mill levies in October, and they'll notify us in November. But these are very close, so they might change just slightly. But the expenditure limits, we're locked into those. We do have the ability to republish by state statute if we need to increase any of those limits. This is probably a year that we will be coming back to you in the spring to republish. None of these budget numbers include any of the compensation packages that are currently under negotiations. So once those negotiations are finalized, we'll have to add some budget, and then most likely we'll exceed what's on this document, and then we'll come back to you in the spring. Okay. Just a couple things. I'm just going to point out a couple funds, so if you have any questions about any particular fund, feel free to ask. The general fund and the supplemental general fund, of course, those are the two large ones. Those are set by the school finance formula. So we go through all our weightings and multiply it times the base day per pupil, which is $4,006 is what we're hoping. Again, we still got the Supreme Court case still hanging out there. So that's what, going through the formula, it says, hey, you got $167 million in your general fund, and you're going to have $63 million to spend in your LOB. Our LOB still is at 33%. And with the new school finance formula, it's the same law as it was before the block grant. I wanted to point out that it looks like the general fund stayed flat, 167 million to 167. It actually went up about $14.2 million, but because of the way that they changed the way the CAPER state aid is going to be received. So when we went to the block grant, they dictated us to deposit all the CAPER state aid and run it through the general fund. They changed that in the school finance formula, so it's going to directly deposit back into the CAPERS fund. So it's just kind of netted itself out. But, yes, sir.
Is that a reversal back to the way it used to be?
Yeah, when they first brought it on, we deposited directly into the CAPERS fund. When we went to the block grant, they wanted to run it through the general fund.
I didn't realize that happened, okay.
Yeah, so now we're just reverting back. So, yeah, so there's really about $14.2 million there in general state aid funds. Okay? The other one I was going to point out is the declining enrollment. If you could scroll down just a little bit for me, Terry. That is the one, that's a fund that they are eliminating. We and maybe another district in the whole state of Kansas takes advantage of that. So it's down 50% this year, and then it'll be eliminated next year. We will get no dollars from that. So it decreased about 1.5 million, and so we'll lose revenue of 1.5 million next year as well. So what we're approving tonight would be a total budget of $467,820,000. That's an increase of about $36.5 million. Most of that is driven by the supplemental general fund. We added about $3.3 million because of the new school finance bill. Capital outlay is increased to 12.4. That's mainly just to give us that budget authority to do projects when they come up. So we don't have to come back and ask for a republication. It just gives us that authority to handle any type of project that we want to handle during the year. The at-risk funds are up about $8.6 million. We're not getting that much more in at-risk funds. It's a lot less than that, but it does give us the authority to do a transfer from our general fund operating funds to the at-risk funds for educating the at-risk children. And then finally, the CAPERS is going up $8.8 million. Again, I think this past 16-17, they only paid 3 quarters in instead of the full 4
Correct.
quarters. And so it's going to naturally be up this year because they'll pick up all the full 4 quarters. So the mill levies, good news is we anticipated going a total of 53.643 will be our total mill levy, a decrease of about 1.3 mills. That would save about $30 a year on a person who owned a home of about a $200,000 value. So they might pay, we estimate they might pay taxes about $1,188 on a home that's about $200,000. So that's good news. Our assessed valuation, also good news. Again, it's an estimate, but right now we're up to $3.6 billion for our school district. That's an increase of about 6.4%. So we've had about 3 years in a row now of very good assessed valuation growth. And so I'm going to conclude there. I just wanted to point those things out, so if there's anything that you have a question, feel free to ask.
Questions?
I have one here.
Brad?
The indebtedness, the bonds, remind me under the general obligation versus capital outlay where we are, because there's the bump up to $341 million there.
Mm-hmm.
What falls in that category that bumps
That
that
would
up?
be the general obligation bonds that we approved back in January 2015. So we did that second sell a year ago. So those came on. So we have 2 series that we sold from the general election. Mm-hmm. And then your capital outlay bonds, we did the final, I think it was $19 million this past spring. So we used up all board-approved authority. It was about $85 million, and we used all that up this past spring, so those jumped up.
So the 212, I think that was the number that was passed. The 212 million
Yes.
was
Yeah.
passed, but
That's-
because we hadn't issued all the bonds, it's now showing that we've issued the final bonds.
Yep,
Okay.
and that's now on our debt schedule.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Patty?
Could you please refresh my recollection on the extraordinary school program? What that entails, what is it, on special revenue, 1, 2, 3, 4th one down under special revenue?
Oh, extraordinary school, that is our online classes. We offer those 2 online, health and American
Government.
history,
Government.
government, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, I would remind everybody, we're simply authorizing the publication of this document.
That's
And
correct.
at our meeting on the 24th, the beginning of that meeting will be a hearing. And so we would welcome public input at that hearing if you have reviewed the document. Are we going to have other supporting information up on our website for this, for the public to look at? Or
Yeah, there'll be, I think there's 5 or 6 required documents
Yeah.
that we'll have on our website
Okay.
and attached to the board docs.
So, and you'll obviously be making a presentation that evening as well.
Certainly can.
So, we'll have that to refresh us. But that's, so our business tonight really is just focused on approving publication.
Mhm.
Okay.
I would move approval of the publication of our budget.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You can publish.
Dr. Denny, just a thank you to Russ and Allison and Dr. Atha. This can be a difficult process in a normal year. This was anything but a normal year in terms of waiting and waiting and waiting and finally getting the document in the manner for them to be able to present to you tonight. So a lot of background work takes place, and Russ guides and directs that. And so I just want to show my thanks to you all for that tonight.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. It's my recollection that in a normal year, we see some of this stuff in April or May, and we have some of the first budget drafts to look at, and as we progress, we're well on our way, usually at our July meeting, and authorizing publication. It's you guys ran a road race this year, so thank you very much. So, comments from board members. Ms. Neighbor.
I'm just really excited for school to start. I think the parents are more excited. But our schools are in great shape. I'm really excited about Benninghoven having their opening coming up here very soon. My husband's been driving by there almost on a daily basis. The parking lot's not in yet. Things are going well there. It's fine. Students will be fine. But their dedication is coming up, and I think that's a building that's been long overdue. And I'm really, really, really excited for all of our buildings that are going to be opening with cheery faces and new designs and things. But I know those students will be particularly excited because they haven't really seen the building like some of our other students have. So I wish our teachers, administrators, and our students a great first day.
Yeah, we have several first days coming up.
Yes.
Ms. Goodburn.
I just want to say I was out driving around, and I don't know if anyone else was driving around yesterday afternoon to see all the bright, shiny new buses. They were doing dry runs yesterday afternoon. Yeah, they were everywhere. So it was just really nice to see that, and nice to see all the bright, shiny new buses. So looking forward to a great start of the school year with the new buses.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Mr. Stratton.
Mr. President, I move that we go into executive session to discuss negotiations, updates pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA. And the open meeting will resume back in the boardroom at 7:45.
Second?
Mrs. Mack. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 7-0. All right. We will return. No, there'll be no further business. We left that out, I'm sorry. I guess you got to read the bottom too. There's no, maybe she didn't have it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no further business following.
Yep.
Executive session.
I'll write it down.
Do we need to make that announcement? I wouldn't want these people to sit here for 30 minutes thinking that we're going to come out for...
If you're, I think I'm on. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't quite complete the motion as we should have. The last part of the motion should say there will be no further business following executive session. No further business.